We'll give 2 minutes of time for others to join. Yeah, so we start, William. All good?
Sure.
Yeah. All good. Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining. And here, William is joining from Shanghai, SAP, and Sandesh is joining from Sydney, DatAvinya, and I'm joining from Perth, DatAvinya. Hi all, thanks for joining. Hope you are all doing well. Firstly, a little bit of housekeeping. This webinar would be recorded and it will be sent to you post the meeting. The microphones and the cameras would be disabled, but feel free to post your queries in the Q&A session. We will try to answer them as much as possible, depending on the time constraints, but or else we can get back to you. And we have a lot of content to cover for today. So feel free to reach out to support at DatAvinya for in case of technical issues. Here's the agenda for today. So firstly, I will start introducing the speakers for today, which is William and Sandesh. And after that, a quick intro about DatAvinya, who we are, where we operate, and what we are into. After that, William would like to share his vision of SSE seamless planning, SAP's SSE seamless planning, the prerequisites to get there, as well as the key roadmap items. Post that, I would be explaining about the attrition planning use case here. So we are going to see how the actuals, plan, and predictive reside in only one place, that is going to be DataSphere. And we don't see a world, we are going to see a world where there are no reconciliation differences. One of the key highlights for the demo would be how easily we can integrate any live external data, whether it's actuals or predictive forecast, to SSE model. Secondly, we will see how the two tools, which is SSE and DataSphere, are coming even closer. As part of the demo, you will see how it is seamlessly integrated. And finally, you will see some good SSE UX dashboards as part of the demo. Apart from the demo, there is a specific focus on the prediction model. That's where Sandesh will walk us through the building blocks of the predictive model and how it carries the signals, and it would be integrated to the SSE planning model for the reiterative purpose of continuous risk assessment. And finally, we'll close the session with the Q&A. Okay. So those are the three speakers which we have. So firstly about William. So William has been part in the product management space of SAP strategic data and analytics and planning tools, right from BPC, and now he leads product strategy of SAP SSE. In fact, over the last 5 years, I would say one of the most complex SSE issues when they come, I reach out to William, and he has been quite good with his answers. Yeah. And in the process, we also identified that SSE has become a very formidable planning and analytics tool today. And now we are going to hear from William how the future also looks like with respect to the roadmap items, the key ones which are relevant. Sandesh and me, we come with 2 decades of experience in SAP data, planning, and leadership roles. Now I'll quickly get into the DatAvinya introduction. So the DatAvinya, the company name, is made up of 2 terms. One is data, and Avinya in Sanskrit means innovation. So in short, we would like to bring innovation in the data analytics space for the clients. That's the vision and motto for the company. We are recently upgraded ourselves to SAP service partner, and we are working closely with SAP on multiple initiatives and in some cases, some clients. We are a growing team of SAP certified professionals. In fact, the team is spread across major cities of Australia and New Zealand, as you can see here. And we believe we are best placed to bridge the gap between business and IT. Firstly, we cover most or in fact all the SAP data analytics tools, and we have the certified people under them. Secondly, we also either have experience in functional or we have certifications in functional. So I would say supply chain, logistics, and also payroll or HCM space. So Sandesh and me, we have been part of many SAP events in the past, and more recently, we have been showcasing the SAP Databricks webinar with again SAP John Gooding just in March 2026. This is the second one in the series, and both are, I would say, the game changers which have been released by SAP as part of SAP. So we have been part of multiple projects. In fact, one of the notable projects in this region on both DataSphere and SSE space. Coming to the service offerings, we try to give the fitment analysis of clients who are trying to move from on-premise to cloud, as well as we will give them the roadmap structure. And in some cases, we will also be helping them with the governance model so that they are start on a good foundation. Secondly, this is where we see a lot of traction with our clients. There are many clients who would like to assess some critical POCs or the use cases before stepping completely into a tool. So that's where we will be able to pitch in. And we have done this with some clients already, and we also see that happening going forward. And lastly, we have the team who is best placed to do end-to-end implementation of all the SAP analytics tools here, and happy to support in any client's data analytics journey going forward. So with that introduction, I would like to quickly pass it on to William so that he can cover the seamless planning topic. Thank you, William.
Thank you, Chakri, for the introduction. And yeah, welcome everyone. And it's my pleasure to be here. I think my slides is visible for the moment. So I will spend the next 15 minutes-ish to talk about what is our seamless planning in the context of SAP Business Data Cloud, and also looking to how it is to be integrated or is integrated right now, and what's our roadmap on that. And first of all, of course, it's a disclaimer. We are showing a little bit roadmap items in this session as well. So any roadmap item is supposed to be changed in any time. And first of all, let's recap a bit on the architecture of where is SAC and DataSphere. I think most of you should be very familiar with this architecture diagram showcasing Business Data Cloud. And the Business Data Cloud established a harmonized data foundation, enabling customers to unleash business AI across all their data. And in the middle, you can see in the layer of Business Data Fabric, we have two most important components, which is DataSphere and Analytics Cloud, which offers analytic and planning capabilities. Right, those are the two major components. Of course, we have others like BW modernization and the SAP Databricks starting from last year Q2, and this year Q1 we also introduced integration with SAP Snowflake. Provide additional data and AI capability. And in today's session, we'll focus on mostly on how to set up and what you can, again, with the seamless planning by combining the SAC planning together with the data foundation in DataSphere. So our vision to have with this seamless planning is from three angles. One is the planning in real time on data product architecture, where we can harmonize SAP data modeling, including planning data, which we can have live planning versus actual reporting without replicating the actuals into planning model as we need to do in the regular SAC planning scenario. Secondly, with extended planning and analysis capability by the AI capabilities with advanced machine learning and AI with external data by leveraging the data products with Databricks. And we also showcase a little bit later on how we can do that already within the SAP Databricks without, within DataSphere without Databricks. Lastly is to enable the planning without additional data footprint to reduce the data redundancies. And of course, as a vision, we also try to see in the future how we can leverage the DataSphere ETL tools to pushing data into SAC planning model, which is not there yet. So the 4 bullet point underneath, we can see that we today has already achieved the deployment of planning models in DataSphere. We can also support replication-free live consumption of DataSphere data in SAC planning model. And going forward, we will also pushing the capability to reuse the semantics, the modeling capabilities coming out of SAP DataSphere. Yeah. So what do we need to have a seamless planning model? So first of all, of course, most importantly is to have the SAC tenant sitting on HANA Cloud. So probably some of you have already heard our SAP initiative starting from last year to migrate existing SAC tenants from HANA 2.0 database to HANA Cloud. This is a big foundation to enable seamless planning. Of course, if your tenant has been was provisioned maybe starting from 2024 is already on HANA Cloud likely, but if your tenant is deployed earlier than 2024, most likely it will still be on HANA 2.0. Starting from last year, we started migration, and this is one of the prerequisites to have seamless planning. The second most important prerequisite is to have SAC Cloud and the DataSphere running on the same data center. For example, if it's AP10 or AP11 or it's on other data center, then it should be in the same data center, okay? Then, of course, we need to have the same IDP because we need a single sign-on for the SAC plan user to DataSphere, vice versa. So they have to have, both has to have the same IDP. The next piece, importantly, is to have a linkage between SAC tenant and DataSphere tenant. Okay, so we have two means of doing that. Prior to last year, Q3, we have the capability to design, to link the tenants in administration tab of SAC or DataSphere, where you can link the two tenants. It is, of course, one-to-one mapping for now. Maybe we will work on that in the future to allow end-to-end mapping, which is not yet there yet. The second option, starting from last year, Q3, is to have the formation. We call it BTP formation. It can be carried out in the BTP cockpit. You can set up the formation between SAC and DataSphere. Of course, the formation setup not only enables the seamless planning, but it also enables the other capabilities like scheduling, public scheduling of DataSphere Live in SAC for the stories, for data analyzer, so on and so forth. Yeah, And lastly, but not least, to mention as a prerequisite, you may know we have different model types. We introduced the so-called new models probably 5 years ago. This is the only model we support for CBS planning. So meaning if you have a classic count model, it is not supported to be deployed into DataSphere. Okay, so meaning the data storage can only be in SAC database, not in the DataSphere database.
Yeah,
yeah,
you are right,
sorry.
William. I think majority of the clients have already transitioned to new model.
Yeah.
So that should be fine.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's true. But yeah, from my customers, I have engaged in the meantime. I'm still seeing a quite big percentage of the models are still in the classic model. Of course, we are encouraging them to migrate. We're putting more and more new functionalities into the new models. Yeah, but you're right. For the new implementations, for new customers, most of them are already on the new models. It should not be an issue anymore. Yeah. Thank you. And move on. So as you know, with the announcement of BDC last year, the data product serves one of the biggest building blocks of the BDC world. It's harmonizing the data from different data sources. Of course, going forward, the seamless planning will also be possible on top of data products. So for now, we can already consume the data products in terms of the fact data. So we can map the fact data, the views from DataSphere into SAC planning model, which is deployed in DataSphere. But going forward, we will also, as mentioned here in the middle, is the dimension reuse in 2026. Also meaning is we can also leverage the data product for master data for dimensions coming from different sources as part of our planning model. So today, as you can imagine, this planning model of SAC still requires the planning model build up, including master data build up inside SAC, even though we can consume the fact data from the DataSphere, which also coming from different data sources, both SP managed and custom managed. But going forward, the master data can also be consumed by the SAC planning model. So how it works. As the diagram shows you, we have here the actuals coming from S/4HANA for finance or for workforce planning. We have the success factor providing the actuals. It can be the views, remote tables. It can be the data replication into DataSphere. So it can be either locally stored in DataSphere, or it can be even remote data source from S4. So we consume this actual version as a live version into SAC planning model. So in this case, the planning model itself, the metadata sits in SAC for both finance and workforce planning model. But the planning data, as we can choose to store the data in DataSphere space. So the planning data is actually sitting in DataSphere as a local table. So in this case, you can understand the local table in S/4HANA for planning, in DataSphere for planning is managed by SAC. The actual table is contributing the data to the planning model as a live version, which is virtual in terms of SAC planning model. And on the other side, we have workforce planning. Also, they have the same architecture, the planning model sitting in local table in DataSphere. The actuals coming from DataSphere, either remote or locally storage, but outside of SAC planning model. And with the setup, we can have both actual and a planning model being visualized and calculated by SAC planning capabilities. And further on, we can virtually access the planning data of workforce through the finance planning model by the views, okay, that we can share, even though they might be in different space in DataSphere, we can share the data across space in DataSphere and be mapped into the same finance planning model of SAC via the second external version. So we can have the actual for finance, we can have the planning data of the workforce, then we can have the planning data for finance, which being modeled in the same planning model of finance in SAC. So with this architecture, we can reduce the data footprint as much as possible. We don't have to replicate planning data from workforce into finance. We don't have to replicate actuals into planning model for either finance or workforce. And you can use regular planning capabilities like data actions to and also advanced formulas to reference the data from actuals as a starting point for my planning. Okay, so that's the benefit you can get. You can understand from here, the data footprint has been reduced largely in this case. You don't need any data replication anymore. Data itself is sitting in DataSphere for planning as well, and you can use that for downstream replication and for downstream usage. And in our case, later on, you will see that how we can use this planning data as well for prediction. Yeah.
Yeah. I will just add a couple of things.
Yeah, so last question, sorry, Chakri. So here, one thing you have to make it clear that we are not able to write back into the reference table, meaning the actuals or the virtual planning data is only for reading in terms of the planning capability. We can only write into the planning local table here through the planning capabilities or data entry. Yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
Chakri,
So
yeah.
I just wanted to cover 2 points there. One you have already covered. So with actuals residing in not in SSE, but as we are connecting it as an external live connection, so we can't change the actuals, which gives some kind of a comfort, because previously some people can accidentally change something. So you are already coming with a governed layer there. Second, many of the clients, because they have to pay for their data storage costs. And here in this case, what SAP has ensured is we are going to store any version only one time. Actual, as you see, it is only one time. Plan is going to store one time. So the 2 key advantages which clients we see is, first, they don't need to spend time and money on the reconciliation because there is only one version there.
Right.
Second, with the DataSphere, which is meant for all the ETL use cases, previously SSE was doing even this data management. You have to retract back all of this stuff. Now this is all gone, and the tools which are designed for the specific primary purposes, they are doing the work here. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Thank you for that. And now let's have a quick overview of the roadmap. Here I included the items we planned for 2026 as well. The items has been released already. So from here, you can see that what we have achieved is already the planning model deployment in DataSphere, the fact data exposure in DataSphere Data Builder, the generic public dimension exposure, the fact data without replication, the live version, the main components capabilities we are looking at. And also in the last quarter, we released a task chain execution via API steps in multi-action. And for the plan in 2026, I want to highlight is the migration for existing planning model over to seamless planning. We're working on a capability called deep copy. Through deep copy, we can migrate deployment from SAC data model, database to DataSphere database. So we can migrate not only the model itself, but also via deep copy, we create all sets of artifacts depending on the model. So the deep copy is in the making, and likely by end of 2026, we will have this the migration capability to seamlessly help our customer to move over from regular SAC planning to seamless planning model. And the next I want to call out is reuse of DataSphere currency table. It's not only relevant for seamless planning, but also relevant for the other use cases where we have already the currencies being maintained in DataSphere, right? Of course, we also want to expose more dimensions into DataSphere. Today, we can already expose generic dimensions, entity type dimensions, but for account type dimensions, maybe we'll go later on. And as well for version dimension, which is also very important. We plan to deliver that to expose the version dimension in DataSphere in 2026. And the last but not least here is to complete the workflow cycle. So today, we can already execute the DataSphere task chain through the API steps from multi-action. And further on, we will also like to enable the capability to allow execution of multi-action via multi-action API from DataSphere. So now we can complete the workflow from both sides, not only to trigger the flow from SAC for the DataSphere task chain, but also to allow the customers to start the multi-action from DataSphere side via the task chain, for example. Yeah, so that's pretty much from my side for the presentation, covered what we have already here and also the roadmap going forward. Yeah, hand it back to you, Chakri.
Yeah. So within these updates, there are two interesting updates, actually, which everyone is looking forward to, I suppose. First one is that multi-action execution via API steps in task chains. So far, even in this demo, which we are going to show later, we are going to trigger the task chains, which will run in DataSphere from SAC. So that is the forward integration, which is working very well. You'll see in the demo. The second is the reverse one. So what that happens is in case of integrated scenarios where you would like to do some multiple data management things. So DataSphere becomes the center, and from there you should be able to run through all these cycles. That's a very good step. I think we would look forward to that. Second is on the planning model migration to seamless planning. Again, it's a good step, and it really helps leverage the benefits quickly. So those people who already have the models, because the database is still with SAC, now you are actually moving it in the background to change the database to DataSphere, right?
Yep, exactly.
Perfect. Yeah, the couple of questions which we hear from clients, maybe I will just ask. So first thing is, yeah, we see the the actuals which are coming from S4, right? In the previous diagram you mentioned, okay,
Yes.
the actuals are there in S4, and in some cases the clients don't have DataSphere but they have SSE. So in that case, is there any way by which the clients can consume S4 artifacts as external live version for seamless planning?
Yeah, it's a good question. But unfortunately, the answer for now is no, even though we have the live connectivity via SQL. But today we don't support yet the S4HANA scenario. So S4HANA, without DataSphere, you still need to be replicated into SAC planning model. Of course, for reporting, we still can have live S4 as always. But for planning purpose, if you don't have DataSphere, then still replication is needed. But of course, with the overall picture of the BDC, Business Data Cloud, we always try to position DataSphere in the middle, where as a data harmonizing layer, where we can leverage the DataSphere to live moderate the data from S4HANA into DataSphere, then finally into SAC planning model without replication.
Yeah, I think it connects to the formation strategy.
Correct.
Correct. So the last question.
Sorry, Chakra, there is one question from the end user here. So Manjush is mentioning our SSE is the EMP version now. Can we request SAP to move this to HANA Cloud version? So referring back to your prerequisite, William. So you mentioned that one of the prerequisite is that SSE needs to be on HANA Cloud version. So what for those customers who are not on HANA Cloud version? How easy is it for them to migrate to the HANA Cloud version?
Yes, actually, the HANA Cloud migration is on schedule by data center, by batches. We started, as I mentioned, late last year, and we are in the progress of migrating all the customers into HANA Cloud. Of course, we also take care of some strategic customers or customers with urgent needs, like in this case, in planning, without any explicit request from the customer. We plan to migrate as our schedule. We have a schedule internally by data center, by batches, by geolocations. But of course, if your customer is eager to have this planning, maybe you can let me know through Chakri or directly to me. I can help to engage the relevant colleagues who is taking care of the migration, but I cannot promise anything, but we need to see how we can make the migration faster for your customer. Yeah.
Thanks, William.
Thanks, William. The last question is, SAP has announced its autonomous enterprise. So everything is going to be agents. So are we expecting some agents in planning space as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think with announcement of autonomous enterprise in Sapphire, and everyone is very excited about that. Definitely, internally, we're working on multiple agents. SAC having multiple agents already be under development, and yeah. For the BI perspective, we're already about to release Joule in SAC in addition to the Network Insights. Network Insights was introduced last year, but the native Joule of SAC is planned for Q3. And along with that, going forward, I cannot tell exactly when, but we're working on a planning agent as well to allow the planning capabilities. Maybe there will be other agents like model agents. Everything is in the pipeline. I'm not able to communicate too much, but definitely stay tuned and expect for more agents to come. And with those agents, we can use the Joule capabilities to combine multiple agents to achieve more complex tasks or workflows. Yeah.
So that's great. So I hope human in the loop will be there as always.
Definitely needed. Yeah.
All good. Thanks, William, for answering questions. And I will switch to monitor. Okay. So firstly, I will explain the background of the model, how we have created here, the personas, and we go step by step so that you will understand the use case. So this attrition risk planning model is based on an imaginary global company having operations across multiple locations, departments, and they wanted to mitigate their attrition risk. For example, every year on year, people will leave the organization for whatever things, and we would like to take the use case of how to mitigate that risk if, for example, if we update the salary, adjust the salary to the market rates to retain the talent. And in any organization, they would like to retain the talent to keep the knowledge with themselves rather than reworking on it and posing some risks to the delivery. So there are 4 personas here. There are 3 personas here. The IT team, which is known for preparing the data. So here in this case, as you can see, the data sphere will have the data loaded, and majority of the planning so far, people have seen that the actuals get loaded to the planning system. But no, this is not the case here. We are just hooking the actuals to SSE planning model. So the data resides only in data sphere for the actuals. Then the HR planner will comes into picture. They will be doing a series of steps as part of the top-down risk assessment planning. So there are 2 things here. One, they have to cater to the employee expenses for next year. So they start with what is the current existing state. They review all this information before they hand it over to the department head for the bottom-up approach. So let's go through the step-by-step for the HR planner. So they will look at the existing actuals. They will be identifying how the concentration of risk, in fact, not the concentration of risk, they will be looking at the different attributes. The gender split, they will look at location-wise split, they will look at departments. So as part of the demo, I will be able to showing you that. Then we have to come up with the base plan. How do you create the base plan? So in SSE, you run your data action to you base your next year plan based on the current year actuals. For example, in this demo, we will take 2026 data of actuals and we generate the plan data for 2027. And what we also do it is at a high level, all the group will get a fixed percentage, say for example, 2 or 3%, so that we start with the initial employee expense by HR planner. So this gives some kind of a sanity check. Look at what would be the amount which we can expect the variance from year on year change from last year to next year, which is for the plan. And many times finance will have some number for the overall departments, including the HR department, employee expenses. So that way they keep tracking iteratively how they are mapping. At the same time, they would be managing the risk. That I will show you in the next steps. So once you have the base plan ready with that fixed percentage, 2-3% increment across the group, the HR planner would be able to just start the risk for start the prediction model, which is based out of DataSphere, right from SSE. So what it does is it goes through that multi-action which William was mentioning before. It will be triggered from SSE. You will never see any DataSphere within that because it's all action will be in SSE. So SSE is the front end for all the actions. But then in this case, the prediction model data will be created, and Sandesh would be taking us through what are the steps or what are the signals being considered as, as the building blocks for the prediction model little later. Maybe once we get into the demo, then I hand it over to Sandesh to explain you how that. So far what we have observed, actuals is residing in DataSphere and it's connected by a live to SSE model. Then we generated the plan. Again, the plan data resides in DataSphere because we wanted to have all the seamless planning data within DataSphere itself. That's how it is structured. Then the predictive model, which we just generated from DataSphere, again, it has been connected as a live version. I will show you in the demo how the SSE model, these three models are connected. So far what we see, two live models, actual and predictive. And it's just that SAP has made it easy. So you can hook any number of different versions data seamlessly or easily to SSE seamless planning model. So once the prediction model is ready, then the HR planner would like to assess, okay, how many employees or how many departments are at risk. So that gives the initial indication. Say, for example, 5% of the overall group is in risk, or say 100 employees are at risk of leaving. Okay. Second, how many departments are at risk? So that are the two KPIs which you will be able to get it. Then they pass on the baton to the department head, because these are the people who knows the employees, and then they will get the initial view of all the employees which are in that high risk category. So the prediction model will give you 3 risk bands. High risk, the chance of them leaving; medium risk, it is okay; and then low risk, the chance of they leaving is less. But as I mentioned, Sandesh will explain more about how that prediction works. So in the department head, what they will be doing is they take the risk, high risk employees as the base, and then they will have two options. One, they will take the predicted values, which would be mostly based on the average market salaries for that position, for that location, and a couple of other attributes. And then they copy that salary from the predictive version to plan version. So you have enhanced your, first you started with the base plan based on actuals, give a little bit of increment across the group. Then the HR planner gave that baton to the department head, and department head will look at that risk territory employees, and he is doing changes in 2 ways. One, copying from predictive to plan. Second, he can also do some adjustments on the fly, which is what I was referring to human in the loop, because many times people know a little bit more information that agent may also not know at this stage. So now that we have adjusted the salaries, you need to recalculate your risk. So initially, say for example, for some employee who was having a plan salary of 60,000, but the predictive salary is 65,000, he is still in that, he was in, say, high risk, or say 50 and 70, for example. But now as you adjusted your predicted, so you need to recalculate the risk. So this would recalculate the prediction risk, which eventually will apply to the department, how many are currently in risk territory. And we close, or the process would be closed by HR planner. So the workforce expense overview was talking about actuals. The budget overview will talk about the plan. Here you will see the KPIs, like, okay, what is the planned employee expense? So you will have the variance, like how much year-on-year actual and percentage increase. Now, how many departments are at risk? How many employees are at risk? And then they always keep cognizant about how much is the envelope amount approved by finance. So all through this, there is no manual action. Everything is driven. Everything is driven from the tool. It is governed space. and 3 departments, IT, HR, and the finance, everyone can be on the same page immediately. There is no reconciliation differences because there is always only one version stored, and that is stored in DataSphere. So that's the explanation of the use case. Now I will move it to the demo for it. So that's the landing page for the seamless workforce planning. As you can see, the steps which I was mentioning previously in the process slide, here we have it as part of individual pages or individual. It will all take you to the respective page. So the workforce overview, we review the actuals. We review what is the current scenario. The company has a headcount of 1,800 around employees. The total employee expense for 2026 is 211.81 million. Finance likes the double digit, so we always keep it to see how much we calibrate next always. Then there is the average salary with gender split, with also the FTE split across the 3 categories, male, female, and binary. As you can see in the tenure banding analysis, what it means is how many years of experience people usually keep it. They are currently in the company. So the spike is happening at around 11 years of tenure experience. So that we will consider, okay, a tenure of 11 years experience people, there is a risk that if we don't retain them, the chance of losing something is much more there. Apart from that, you have the charts. So we have this geomap based on the FTE numbers and the salary, just giving the size of the bubble. Then we can quickly switch to the bar chart seamlessly. And you have the department and gender headcount diversity, which is important for the DEI analysis. For retirement planning, we can look into the aging band bucket and the positions which are in high demand. So finally, with the education diversity. So there are a couple of things which you can analyze just visualizing this dashboard. Firstly, you should be able to quickly see at any of these points. This is all connected dashboard. It will tell you, okay, for sales department, for female, how this all matters. So whoever is on the bachelor's degree, it is just updating accordingly, all these numbers. Now we go back. So now that we have reviewed the actuals, we go back and look at the next step, which is the initiate plan. So as part of the initiate plan, what we do is we have to copy the actuals to plan. And again, it is here. As you can see, we started with some plan percentage. There is no predictive at this stage because the predictive will come later after we plan the amount. So how do you do the plan? We can always trigger the action. We go into plan. For 2027 because the actuals are based on 2026. As you can see, I want to give the increment as 3%, for example. So across the departments, now you have got the increment of 3%. That is just like the group wise expense, employee expense. So the variance is 6.35 million added to the planned employee expense, and 3% is the increment which we have done as part of the initiate plan. So once the people are happy with these numbers, because they keep tracking with the finance department approval envelope amount, so they can always publish the plan. So I publish the plan. So the initial plan amount is done based on your actual amount of last year. Now we go back to the next step, which is the attrition risk. So this is where we have to calculate the risk band. That means we go and create the attrition risk on the prediction. So the predictive version will be calculated by clicking on this. What I will do is I generate this calculate attrition risk, which will trigger the task chain to generate the prediction data in DataSphere. And Sandesh will explain about the model of the prediction, how we are bringing it all together. So we'll just keep this running in the background. I will just open the.
Sorry, Chakri. So what Chakri has done right now, he has triggered the multi-action from SAC. And once that trigger has run, what it has done is in the backend in DataSphere, it has triggered a task chain. And that task chain is triggering a transformation flow, which is calculating all the attrition risk and storing it into a table. So Chakri, maybe while it is running, it might take a couple of minutes. While it is running, can you bring up that model? Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, so let's look at how we actually calculate which employees are at risk of leaving. So this is just a high-level diagram of how the logic works, and I will walk you through this. So this is pure business logic, no fancy AI or anything, no AI algorithms, just basic logic built in SQL in DataSphere. And this can any HR or finance team can understand and validate based on this logic. So in our demo today, we have preloaded a representative market data set, which has market salaries and demand by job titles, covering 10 plus cities and 70 plus job roles. In the real world, in production environment, you can get this data by connecting your DataSphere to your preferred data provider like LinkedIn Insights or Glassdoor surveys, where you can get all of this market data like job demands, average salaries, etc., etc. And you can refresh this in DataSphere on a monthly or a quarterly basis. Now, the beauty of doing this inside DataSphere is that you have your HR actual data, which is your employee master, salaries, performance ratings, everything nicely flowing in from either SuccessFactors or S4HANA via standard replication flows. And then your market data is sitting right next to it within DataSphere in some governed space. And then what you do is you basically join these two data into one view. Now, to join this data, the logic on the high level that we have given here is we start with the base score of 30 for each employee. Then we use 5 different signals to add or subtract to the base score. These signals are salary gap, market demand, market growth, tenure, and performance. So we start with the salary gap. So what we do is we take the salary gap between what the market is actually paying for that exact role, the average market salary, versus what the employee is actually currently earning in our company. So we scale it by like 0.10. So for example, a person who has a salary gap of 50% will add up 5 points. Now we go to market. So the second is market demand. So if the market is actively hiring for this role, that means that particular job role is in high demand. Then we add 12 points. Similarly, if it is medium, we add 5. If it is low, we deduct 5. Then third is market growth. This is a trend signal. So if a number of job openings for this role is growing faster than 5% year on year, we add 8 points. If it is between 0 to 5, we add 3 points. If it is less than 0, that means there is no growth for this particular role in the market. So we actually deduct the points. Then also the fourth signal is the tenure. So typically it is understood or observed that people who are in the initial phases of career are likely to leave early. So because they keep hopping in the early stages of their career. So less than 2 years, we add 10 points. Less than 5 years, we add 5 points. Greater than 10 years, we assume that people are stable. But this is subjective. So some companies might do it differently. But in this demo, we have done it in this way. Lastly, the performance. So insufficient and progressing performance will deduct the points, while satisfactory will keep 0, and outstanding or extraordinary performance will be rewarded with additional points. Now, summing all of these signals will give you the flight risk percentage. So on top of the base score of 30, we add all of these scores, and the higher the number, the more likely the person is likely to leave. That is how we calculate the flight risk percentage. Now, based on the flight risk percentage, we categorize this employee into 3 different categories: high risk employees, which is like greater than 70% flight risk percentage; medium risk, between 45 to 70%; and low risk, less than 45%. So now we will see how we use these risk bands in the planning model and identify what are the high risk employees and try to reduce their attrition risk. Over to you, Chakri.
Yeah, thanks, Sandesh. That's a bit of quasi AI class, how he is explaining about the different signals. But the good part is this is all done in SQL. It's not something completely not uncertain also. So there is a core business logic which is embedded. Like Sandesh has mentioned, it can be customized according to customer scenarios. Yeah. So now we run the calculate attrition risk. Okay.
Oh, I thought we already ran it, didn't we?
Yeah. So as we are checking that. So what it will do is it will create that employees at risk, employee risk percentage, and the departments risk and department percentage. So you'll see the employees by risk categories here, and then we will see how the waterfall chart. For example, we are comparing between actual and predictive. How it is the amount here. We'll just refresh. Yeah. So I should have refreshed. I think I started again. So these are the employees at risk, and this is how the split is high risk, medium across the departments, and that is the waterfall explaining the delta here across each department, contributing to the extra delta from actual to predictive. And it's not that we are going to increase everything to predictive; it's just that gives the higher range based on the prediction. So among those employee departments which are at risk, for example, we would like to say target engineering department which has 16 employees, right? So what we do is we go to the next step. Right now we have seen this 124 at risk, and we will try to tackle that 16 employees, how we can do the adjustments. That's where the HR planner hands over the baton to the department heads, where they will do the adjustments based on the high risk employees. So for the engineering department, these are all the 16 employees which are identified in the high risk band. So we are going to do a copy of predictive, because this is what the prediction algorithm is predicting for his salary based on the 5 signals which Sandesh has mentioned. So we run the copy predictive to plan. So we are going to generate the plan only always, because the rest all we already have it. So
that is department. Yeah.
yes, engineering department 2027. So in the chart, you can always go through by department by split. And here you see the prediction value, predictive version amount copied to plan version as is. So now if the department head is always having the option to update these figures by going through adjustment plan. But here we will just lock the version by publishing the plan. So the changes are affecting only engineering department here. And in a live scenario, only the engineering department cost center head will have access to this, because you can enable the role-based access. And the HR planner will have all the access to all the departments, but this would be department-specific access. So the plan has been updated here. Now let's go back and look at the recalculation of attrition. Now that we have reduced the risk for these employees. So these are the 16 employees. We recalculate the attrition risk. Again, so while it is going in the background, so you should be able to quickly navigate by the risk band here. Now the salary breakdown would be based from the plan to predictive. So the plan is now staying at 219K and the predictor is 227. And the risk percentage after the action is finished, it should update. So, and these are all the departments which where you can do slice and dice. So we refresh. Go to recalculate.
Maybe in the meantime, Chakri can also show them the multi-action monitor, how we can look there.
Yeah. So
I think it's already updated. So earlier it was 127 employees, which is now.
Yeah. So now it has reduced the employee at risk after we did the changes. Now we refresh the plan. The department is engineering.
So what this refresh plan will do is it will update the risk bands to the plan values. So the plan will not change, but only the risk band will be updated.
So what you can see here is out of the 16 employees, there are 2 still remaining, even though we copied the predictive salary to this, because it means it is not just about the salary, but there may be something else, or it is expecting a little bit higher salary, even more as part of the risk assessment.
Yeah. So it could be some other parameter which is dominating, like maybe the market demand is higher, or there must be some specific skill shortage that might be driving that high risk band. So it is not just the salary.
Yeah. So after we recalculated the risk, now we finally look into the budget overview. As I was mentioning, this is all about the plan and predictive. Previously, it was on actuals. So we started with 211.81 as the actual amount. We are expecting a increase or year-on-year variance of 3.04% because we did only for one department. But iteratively, when all the departments add it up, two things will happen. One, the employee expense will go up. Two, the departments at risk will come down, as well as the employees at risk will come down. That's where you holistically do your employee expense planning and you reduce your attrition risk. At the same time, you should be able to flexibly connect to any of the prediction models. I'll show you the SSC model here. So this is the seamless planning model which we have developed. And as you can see here, these are the versions. Actual is a live connection and predict is a live connection. And like William has mentioned, the live connection means we can't change anything and they reside in DataSphere. The other one, plan, again, even though it is generated from SSE, it is staying in DataSphere because we have put it likewise. So now I will show you how the actual and plan versions mapping would be. So we have this FTE planning model, which is bringing that actual. So we map each of these like this. However, if you don't like this, I mean, if you want to update it with a new variant, you can always change it. This especially would be true where you wanted to do some different prediction part. Say we have started with attrition risk V1 model, where we map only the necessary ones. We are not mapping all. That's the flexibility which we have to see here. SSE automatically adjusts. And then on top of that, you should be able to click on this edit external data source and update this external data source. So our experience, it is seamlessly integrated. As you can see in the story, everything is coming up and no issue with the performance with getting the data up to speed, as well as all of these functionality, slicing, dicing works perfectly. Yeah. So that concludes the demo from our side. Any questions?
I like your demo a lot. Yeah.
Thanks.
Maybe one quick question from my side as a foundation, how difficult it is to integrate the external market data into DataSphere just for this predictive calculation.
So for this demo, we just used CSV files, but in real world, I mean, there could be APIs, right? We can just integrate using APIs. SAP DataSphere does support OData API connection, so we can use those connections directly.
Sounds good. And then lastly, I saw a few questions coming from Manjush in the chat. Just I answered by typing, but I just want to highlight one thing. The last question asking about the key capability, key advantage of going to seamless planning. I also write down, but tries to verbally mention it is I think the three major advantages of going to seamless planning. So one is largely reduce data footprint and replication cross systems from actual to plan, or even cross planning model. The second one is the faster simulation cycles. Without replication, we can do much faster, quicker simulation by any data and do simulation and revise it. The third is to enable the machine learning and AI capabilities coming from DataSphere or even from external systems like Databricks. If we have the data product, we can data sharing. So everything is now possible with this. Yeah. So just to recap that.
I will start from the questions from the beginning, maybe, and then we will answer quickly. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've answered some of them, I think, or most of them. I think the other ones are pretty easy ones, and we can handle multiple planning models in DataSphere. There's no limitation on that. All the planning models are stored in DataSphere. Yeah.
Okay.
And also,
so is there any
technical action still can be used? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Is there any technical dependency for seamless planning with VDC? As we have only DataSphere, there is no technical dependency.
No technical dependencies. We can already use standalone DataSphere plus standalone SAC and link them. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is standalone DataSphere and standalone SAC, so it is working. No issues on that. It said only one planning version data can be kept in DataSphere. Is that a limitation currently?
Yeah, I understand.
So
yes,
you already answered.
Yeah.
What would be the role of data action, multi-action, as we are not moving data from one model to another in seamless planning? So the multi-action which we have used here is to trigger the task chain in DataSphere to generate the preparing the predictive version. Then for the data action, you always need data action in case you want to generate a planned data. So you take the actuals from DataSphere, but for the planned data, you need a data action. That's how SAC supports in the front end.
Yeah, like in this example, we use the data action to do an increment of 3% and calculate the plan based on actuals.
What are the core functional indicators? We already answered. Then I think that's it, right?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot, William. Especially, I know these are one of the busiest weekdays for you, and coming over and answering these questions, as well as giving the roadmap visibility.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for your time, William. Yeah, it was good.
Thanks a lot. See you. Thanks.
Okay, see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.